Okay, so just to show you what we're going to cover and the order that we're going to cover it in, if you've got a burning question about a particular topic, all we ask is that you can just save that question for when we're actually live covering that topic, and then we'll be able to pick it apart for you. So we're going to look into what cycle scheme is and how it's developed and adapted and changed over the years. And I must say that's much for the better. You get a much better package than you ever did before. We'll then look into the savings, how they work, and then where you can use those savings, and then finish up with how you apply. So we'll begin with what cycle scheme is. So cycle scheme is based on the government's green transport plan. So the aim here is to get people out of cars, get people reducing emission and congestion, and at the same time fitter and healthier, because a fitter and healthier workforce is a more productive workforce. But the key things here for yourselves are that you are going to make a huge saving and you're going to get to spread that cost. Now, the savings come from your income tax and your national insurance. So it will depend on your salary and which tax bracket you are as to exactly how much you save, but we'll go through that shortly. And the other thing to point out here is that you spread the cost interest-free over a whole year. So if you were to sum up cycle scheme, it's equipment of your choice from the store of your choice, and you're going to make a huge saving and then spread that cost interest-free. Now, you may have come into contact with cycle scheme either with your current employer or with previous employers, but it has changed over the course of the years and much for the better. So long gone are the days of the £1,000 cap, which I'm sure many of you will be pleased to hear. Your new limit is £4,000, which is fantastic. This gives you access to more equipment than ever before, and it should allow more people to give cycling a chance. So you can now get access to things like electric bikes. So these are the ones with the batteries and the motors. So if you've got some hills involved, or you've got a bit of a distance, you're not sure whether you can make it, an e-bike can really take the sting out of things. In short, the battery and the motor add assistance as you cycle, so it can make going up a hill feel like you're just coasting along the flat. And if you've got kids, they are phenomenal. Really, really easy way to incorporate dropping the kids off at nursery or school on the way into work. You can get cargo bikes, they've got specific payloads. They've even got child seats with seat belts built into them. So it's really, really secure and great way to look at cycling in a different way. We're also a very adaptive and permissible company, and so we do allow adaptive bicycles. So things like hand cycles would be a really good example. So if you're unable to use your feet, or you've got restricted mobility, things like a hand cycle where you pedal with your hands can make a real difference, and those are all permissible on cycle scheme. Now, I should mention also, it's not just about the bike. If you've already got a bike and it needs a bit of a refresh, so maybe new wheel set, maybe a new set of gears, you could just get those without a bike and still make the same savings. It might be that you just are already a keen cyclist and you could do a wheel set for one bike and maybe some clothing, some lights, some locks. You can get all of that without a bike. So the scheme is really, really flexible. You can go up to the £4,000, but you certainly don't have to use all of it. All you need to do is let us know how much you need. Now, bear in mind, it's all from one store. So we work with a number of stores and we'll go through those shortly. The other thing that I do need to point out is that because the limit has gone up, it is all encompassing. Now, that is to say, whatever certificate amount that you request, you cannot go over it. So if you had a £4,000 certificate, you wouldn't be able to go to 5,000. If you had a £2,000 certificate, you wouldn't be able to then go and get £2,500. You need to ensure the certificate covers the full amount. So there is no topping up allowed. Okay, so what else do you get with Cycle Scheme? Because it's not just about that initial certificate. We give you a whole package. So if you shop in a physical store, you'll get a free 6-week service. So 6 weeks after having your bike, you can pop back into the shop and they'll tweak the brakes, make sure the gears are nice and indexed and crisp, and it just keeps your bike running smoother for longer. Really nice little additional extra there. The other thing that we'd like to let you know is you get 2 free weeks of Bicamo insurance. Now, Bicamo insurance is insurance specific to your bicycle. If you wish to then continue this for the rest of the year, you are getting exclusive discounted rates as well. The reason we include this is because you're responsible for the upkeep of that bike during your hire period. So we do recommend insurance, and this is a really easy way to do it. Alternatives might be your insurance contents cover on your house. So there's lots of different options that you've got. We also give you easy enrolment into Bike Register. Now, this is a national register, and it enables any bicycles which are maybe stolen, recovered by the police, to then return them back to their rightful owners. So in the unlikely event that you do get your bike stolen, we've got a really nice way of being able to get it back to you. And that's all part of the service. Now, additional to this, we do offer discounted membership to British Cycling. And in turn, that will give you things like third-party liability insurance cover, free legal support, and I believe there's even some discounts on some retailers. So that's well worth looking into. We also give you plenty of opportunity for competitions, freebies, giveaways, information, and that's all via Love to Ride, which is a cycling specific community, and also our own monthly newsletter. We work directly with brands, and we quite often are very fortunate enough to get gifted some bikes, some clothing, some lights. I think I've seen some action cameras in the past as well. And we put these up for grabs. So there's always something there for you to potentially win. Well worth looking into. So the nuts and the bolts of it then. Who do we work with? Where can you get a bike? We work with pretty much most brands you can think of, and we work directly with these as well. Not only does that give you exclusive access to some of these brands, but it also gives you a bit of early availability as well. So with stock coming in at the moment, you get early access. Now, we do add brands on a week by week basis, as well as the retailers. I lost count when we hit over 2,000, but we're adding about 4 or 5 a week. So there's always something new to look at. And this will continue to add choice for you. It's also bringing in brands which perhaps you haven't even heard of before. So we're giving you that additional choice. In terms of stores, you can shop online or you can shop locally. Basically, if you wanted to shop with your local family-run business that's just down the road, you're going to be able to do so. If you wanted to shop with the biggest in the industry online, you can do that as well. We give you the choice. It's entirely up to you. The other thing to mention is that we do have a retailer team, and that team is there to support you guys. So if there's a particular bike that you were interested in, perhaps we can use our expertise to help find one in stock or advise when that might be coming into stock. So I think the next thing to do really is to pop onto our website and we'll have a look at our store finder. Okay, so all we've done here is we've popped onto cyclescheme.co.uk. That's our website. You can see the nice blue and white banner there. Now, if you scroll down, you'll find that we've got our store finder. This is simple to use. All you need to do is choose whether you're shopping locally or online. So if we go local, you'll get a list of all your local stores. Now you can search for these either by a store name or by location. So it's up to you. Now, Cycle Scheme was born in Bath, so I'm just going to use Bath. And we'll get a map showing us all the icons. Now, when you start scrolling in, you'll see that these icons will start splitting up into different stores. The other way to do it, which is the way I actually prefer to do, is the list view. You can easily scroll through all the stores and see what's available. Now, rather than just giving you a list, we want to give you a bit more. So all you need to do is hit the profile button, and that will take you into the store's specific page. This will give you a bit of information about what that particular store does. They might have a leaning towards a particular type of bicycle. So maybe it's a road bike shop, maybe it's a mountain bike shop. We've also got information regards the rest of the store. So if you want to get in contact with them, we certainly recommend that you do. You've got the instant direct information here. Now, obviously we're going through some strange and testing times at the moment. Social distancing is a thing. Looks like it's going to continue to do so. So please bear in mind that some stores, depending on their size, might operate in slightly different ways. So some of these stores might be operating on a a limited number of people coming into the store at any one time. Others might even be doing it by appointment only. So if you get in contact with the store, you can then book in. Now, this can really, really benefit you and swing it around the other way. It means that you can get one-on-one customer service. And it also means that test rides can be a really positive thing. So if you book in a bit of time with a store, you might find that you can do a number of different test rides, well worth looking into. Lastly, I should just point out that we also have our rating system. We're really proud of our stores. They do a great job. This is proof of the pudding. So every single customer that goes through Cycle Scheme can feed back to us. They get 30 days from redemption of their certificate to let us know how they found the experience. You can see here this store has got full ratings. So that's also something which is worth looking into. It will give you a little bit of peace of mind. Now, if you wanted to shop online, you've certainly got the ability to do so. All you need to do is click online retailers, and you'll see here we've got our list. Now, just the same as we did before, if you click view profile on something you like the look of, this will give you a bit of information about that particular store. Now, the key thing here to point out is the link to their website. That will take you to what we call their landing page. Now, the landing page is the page where they hold all of the Cycle Scheme information. Now, this is really key because some online retailers will have different processes for checking out. Some will ask you to complete a basket and then enter your certificate details once you've had it issued. Others will ask you to email in your certificate to them. So do check what their terms and conditions are and what their process is. The other thing, of course, is we've still got our rating system as well. So that should give you confidence as to which store to use. Okay, so the next thing to do is to look at the savings, the nuts and the bolts, why you should use Cycle Scheme and how it works. So here we've got our calculator. I should point out, super easy to find on any web-enabled device. Pop onto our website and click how it works. And then if you scroll down, you can type in the cost of the equipment, type in your salary, and then hit calculate. So all we've done is we've got £1,000 package here, and this is for a standard rate taxpayer. So £1,000 is going to drop to £750 for a standard rate taxpayer. That's made up of 12 monthly instalments during the hire period, which is £56.67. Now, after that, the hire period finishes and there's a one-off cost to transfer the ownership from employer to yourselves, and that avoids a gift in kind. Now, the reason why that exists is because this monthly cost is the use of the equipment, not towards ownership. And therefore, just like a company laptop or a company car, if you were gifted it, it would be taxable. So there's a transfer of ownership cost, which is a much smaller amount, saves you more money. Now, the good news here is that we've costed that into your total savings. So from the off, when I said that you were going to save £250 or 25%, and that £1,000 is dropping to £750, that's inclusive of that ownership cost. So now we can start playing around with the figures. Now we know how it works. So if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you're going to save a slightly different amount, and that's because there's more tax for you to save because you normally pay more tax. So you can see here that £1,000 is going to drop to £650, and that's because your monthly cost is £48.33. So we'll have 12 of these plus the ownership cost at the end, giving you a total of £650, or to put it another way, 35% saved, 350 quid saved. Now, if you wanted to use a bit more and go for something like one of the electric bikes, then we can play around with the figures there. So for the high rate taxpayer, that £3,000 bike is actually only going to cost £1,950. So that's a massive £1,050 saved. And that comes down to just £145 per month. Now, bear in mind that's per month. So if you're going to use that bike to commute to work on a monthly basis, then your per week cost is probably going to be quite a bit less than your weekly bus fare. And yet you've got a bike for a whole month to use. The other thing here to point out is the ownership cost here. Now, ownership fees are based on HMRC's valuation table, and we've got a question mark here. So you can hover over it when you're on the calculator. If you've got a question, query, you can always hover over these. If you're unsure about the net and the gross, then you can hover over these as well. But what we'll do is we'll head on over into a bit more detail about end of hire in a second. Adam, can I just check in with you? Have we got any questions? Do we need to go further into the calculator?
No, I don't believe we do have one. Should Strathclyde staff pick the 1 year or 4 year ownership period in the calculator if the hire period is 12 months?
Okay, so the initial hire period is 12 months. At the end of the hire period, you're going to get 3 options to choose from. So what we'll do is we'll hop onto our help and support page, which is just up here. And if we scroll down, you can then hit our FAQs. Now from our FAQs, we've got our ownership fees here. There are 3 different options. So at the end of the 12 months, you can pick option 1, option 2, or option 3. So option 3 is easy to explain. That's just simply returning the bike. We don't want you to do that. We want you to keep using your bike. Option 2, this is HMRC's valuation for the bicycle at the end of 12 months. They'd value it at 25% of its original cost. So a £1,000 bike would be worth 250 quid. That's a lot of money to pay. The only reason you should pick this option is if you wanted to become the owner and therefore be able to sell the bike. We don't want you to do that because we want you to keep using your bike. So option 1, own it later, is the option that we recommend you choose. It's based on only 7% of the original cost of the bike. There's a £500 threshold. If it's under £500 initially, it's actually only 3%. So for most people, you're probably looking at 7%. Once you paid that 7%, that's it, job done. There's no more costs to pay, and you get to keep using the bike for the next 3 years. And in fact, you can even reapply and get another bike. So you might get a mountain bike year 1, and then year 2, you're then getting a road bike perhaps. But what we'll do is we'll just play a short video. Our friend Bob is going to take you through the different options. So just bear with me and we'll optimize the sound. Can I just check that the sound is playing there? I'm not 100% sure it is. Okay, so apologies if you didn't get the sound there. I think we had a small technical hitch. So let's go back out of here. And then if we pop back onto the calculator, you can see here that we've got an option. So when you're in your calculator and you want to start working out your package, if you wanted to opt for the own it now option, that's what this 1 year option here is. So you can just hover over it and you'll get a bit of information there. If you wanted to go for the own it later option, which is the option we recommend, you can hover over here and you'll notice that that will change. There we go. And then what you need to do is select the calculate button and you'll see it will change. As you can see here, it does affect the savings. We do recommend that you go for the own it later option, because that option gives you a far bigger saving, gives you more flexibility, gives you the ability to keep using the bike. So all you need to do is pop in your cost of equipment, choose whether you want to do own it now or own it later, and then pop in your salary and hit calculate. That will then give you your savings. Now, I should point out that once you've taken out your certificate, you have your hire period for 12 months. At the end of the 12 months, we will then contact you and we will give you those 3 options. You don't need to make your option until the end of your 12-month hire period. The only reason we put it in here is just to give you as much information up front, so you can go in and see how much it's going to cost from start through to ownership, which gives you the holistic savings. So that's with that ownership fee built in to it as well.
With that,
okay, Adam, can I just double check, see if we've picked up all the questions regards savings and end of hire before we move on?
Yeah, there's just one thing that Nori McKay wants to clarify on. So if you choose the own it later option, do you have to continue to be a Strathclyde employee for the full 4 years? Did you hear that?
Okay, so the next thing to do is to pop back onto. Sorry, I'm not able to hear.
Yes, I think you've got some issues. Can you hear me?
Neil, can I just ask if you can jump in a second?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can hear you there. But Nori, to answer your question there, as far as I'm aware, you don't need to be an employee after the 12-month period. So you do need to be an employee for the duration of the hire period, but for the kind of that deposit and the small one-off payment, you don't need to be an employee. I do think that's in the video. So I believe Adam has. Yeah, Adam's popped in.
So after the 12 months, we get in contact with the individual, and it's less about your agreement with your employers, because that is over. So you don't need to worry about continuing to be an employee after that period of 12 months.
Great stuff. Thanks, guys. Okay, so the next thing to do is we're going to pop back onto our presentation, and we'll look to see what the customer journey is. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is to work out your budget. Your budget is really easy to do. You can either pop into your local store, and your store will be able to walk you through your savings and your what equipment you'd need to go for. If you wanted to shop online, then you can always use our savings calculator. That will give you a good indication as to what sort of budget you want to request. The key thing here is you want to come away with a quote, and that quote is a written list of the equipment that you would like and the store you'd like to get it from. The reason we ask for this is because once you apply, we're unable to change the amount, and that's because it's linked directly to your salary sacrifice deductions. So please make sure you get the correct amount first. Now, we do realise that there needs to be some sort of flexibility, so we can swap stores and you can change the equipment that you're getting from that store. You just simply can't change the amount. So it is key that you get the amount right first. When you know what you're going to be going for, it's really straightforward. Pop onto our website /2C for Charlie 688 C for Charlie. Now those C's are lowercase, and Adam is going to pop that into the chat for you, so you can copy paste that. This is where you come to apply for your certificates. Really straightforward. All we're going to be asking from you from that link is to ask where you'd like to get a bike from and what equipment you're going to be getting and what value that is. It's really straightforward and simple. Now, once you've done this, that's it, job done. You can pop your feet up. We will do the rest. Now, behind the scenes, your application will need to get approved by your employer, who will then let us know. We will then email you out your certificate. So once you've got your certificate, if you're shopping into a physical store, you can pop in with your mobile phone and simply show them your certificate. They will redeem your certificate there and then, and you'll be able to leave with the equipment. Your first financial impact is just usually in the next paycheck. If you're shopping online, then do check with the online retailer as to their process. Some will ask you to complete a basket and enter your certificate details. Others will ask you to email in your certificate. Okay, so just wanted to go through the scheme settings here for you. So the scheme is over 12 months, which means you're going to have 12 equal monthly installments. So these are your salary sacrifice deductions. Your savings are going to vary depending on your salary. You're going to be looking at around 25% if you're a standard rate, 35% if you're a high rate, and perhaps a little bit more if you're super rate. As we said at the beginning, the limit is £4,000, but it's up to you to choose how much you want to go up to. Please bear in mind that whatever amount you request, do make sure that your certificate equipment matches the certificate value. That is to say, when you're checking out at the shop, whatever certificate limit you've requested, make sure the equipment matches that limit, because it does redeem in full in one go. And in terms of own it options, we went through those earlier on. You've got access to that video. You can access the video easily from our website. Okay, so I think the next thing to do is we'll just open this up for a live Q&A. So if you've got any particular questions we haven't managed to answer through the process, we'll be able to pick those up for you now.
Okay, so we have our first question, Andy.
Okay.
Sarah Walker has asked, you mentioned repairs are covered by the scheme. Would that involve getting a quote first from the shop and applying for the certificate through the same process?
Okay, so repairs are not covered through the scheme. So you can get equipment on the scheme, but you can't get services. So you wouldn't be able to pay a bike shop to fix your current bike. But if you do have a current bike that needs new equipment, for example, a new set of gears, you could request the gears, the drivetrain, as a certificate. But in terms of any cost, any labour, that is not permissible on Cycle Scheme, so you'd need to pay for that separately. Okay, so we've just been asked if you can get 2 bikes on the scheme. I'm pleased to say yes, you can, but both bikes need to be for yourself. So maybe you're cycling to the train station, lock it up, take the journey, and then you have another bike waiting for you at the other end of the journey. That's absolutely fine. What you wouldn't be able to do is get a bike for a loved one or family member. The scheme is for yourself to sacrifice part of your salary in order for you to cycle to your workplace. So it is for yourself and not for loved ones. Okay, so this is your opportunity to ask us any questions. So if you've got any specific questions, now is the time. Otherwise, we'll be shortly rolling on into a short presentation from Neil.
Okay, we have 2 more. Firstly, Ian was struggling to find Canyon bikes as a retailer on our scheme.
Okay, so Canyon bikes aren't officially onboarded with Cycle Scheme at the moment, but if you email into retail@cyclescheme.co.uk, so that's retail@cyclescheme.co.uk, they'll have a look into that and see if they can help you out.
Yep. And in your second question about 2 bikes, yes, they would need to be from the same retailer, as you would need to use your certificate at the one retailer. You can't use it multiple times.
That's correct, yeah. So certificates are redeemed in one go for the full amount from one retailer. So you would need to ensure that you're getting all the equipment from one retailer. Most retailers have accounts with most distributors, so you can probably come up with some sort of wish list and they'll be able to order it in stock for you.
Okay. Yep, so Stuart Galloway, he came in a little bit late and just wanted to know if electric bikes are included.
They certainly are, yes. Very pleased to say so. Your limit goes up to £4,000, which should give you access to even some of the really nice crank drive systems.
Yeah. And then Mickey Anderson just kind of wants to clarify on the point is, do you have to specify an exact amount or an up to amount?
Okay, so you do need to specify an amount. Now that amount is what you will be authorised and your certificate will be. So when you then go to redeem your certificate, it redeems in full for that amount. Now that amount is not changeable and it does redeem in full. So let's just say you've requested a £2,000 certificate. You go back into the store and you then realize actually the bike has gone down in price by £100. So the bike is now 1,900. When you redeem that certificate, it will redeem for the £2,000 that you requested. So what we ask is that you ensure that you add on additional accessories to bring the equipment value to equal that certificate value. So if in this example where the bike had dropped down £100, you could maybe pick up a bike lock and maybe a helmet, pick up some accessories so that it bumps that total price up to the same value as your certificate. Okay, so last call for any questions. Otherwise, we will hand over to Neil, who's got some great news for you regards bike-specific information on site.
Folks, I'll crack on with my little part of the presentation. I'm just going to cover some of the facilities that we have at Strathclyde. Hopefully some of you will be using the scheme to get a bike and start cycling to work, or get a new bike, a nice wee upgrade if you already do. So I just want to cover some of the facilities we have and some of the important things when you are coming to campus with your bike. So the first thing is locking it up safely. This is something we're trying to tackle on campus. And the two main things that I would advise is about the type of lock you get and the way that you lock your bike. So the thing that we always look for is a lock that has a gold standard of sold secure. So on the next slide, and you will see this little logo. So down in the bottom right there, that's the sold secure gold standard. And now that means that the lock has been tested and that it can withstand a certain amount of somebody attempting to get it off. You'll see at the top there, that type of cable lock is not what we would recommend. If somebody has a pair of bolt cutters, they can get through a cable lock very, very quickly. So we would always recommend what's called a D-lock, which you may have seen, and that's this big sort of steel U-shaped or D-shaped bar. And you can also get folding locks. So if you want something that maybe doesn't clip to your bike, but you can slip into a bag, these folding ones, there are some that are also to that gold standard of sold secure. And you also, with a lot of D-locks and folding locks, you get an additional cable. So we would recommend that that cable is used to maybe lock any quick release wheels that you have, to lock through your seat, any parts that could be easily taken off, just to give that extra level of protection. So on the next slide, we've got a little example you can see there of different ways to lock your bike. I would always recommend locking to something very, very solid. Around the campus, we have lots of cycle racks that are these sort of upside down U shapes called Sheffield racks, all concreted or bolted into the ground. I'd always say that it's best to lock through your frame and through a wheel. If you can quickly take a wheel off and lock both wheels together, if you're going to be leaving the bike for a while, it's recommended. Or you can use, as in the top right diagram there, you can see that there's a cable going through the frame and through one of the other wheels as well. And that just ensures that anybody that is coming along, sort of opportunists, can't take a wheel and always lock through. Just a wee bit more detail there. I can send out the presentation at the end of this so you can get a little example and have a closer look. What I would recommend is if you are buying a new bike is to try and buy a lock at the same time. Depending on the geometry and the design of your frame, the size of bike you have, you might need a slightly wider or a slightly longer D-lock than somebody with a smaller bike. If you have a bigger gap between your frame and your rear wheel, you'll need something that can reach around those and still have space to lock onto one of these Sheffield racks. So it's probably best to just get that all at the same time, and that way you know all of the equipment is matched well to your bike. And that probably goes the same with other accessories. If you want a little saddle bag, for example, for keeping stuff on your commute, panniers, things like that, and little extras that can help you store stuff, probably best to get that all at the same time and make sure that it all works well together. So the next few slides here. So as well as all the external storage that we have on campus, we also have some internal cycle hubs. And these are secure caged off areas you can access with your staff card by swiping in. So it's definitely the safest place on campus to keep your bike. We have 3 on campus. There's the current internal hub. So this is underneath the library, and it's accessed from the garage door down towards George Street. There's about 20 racks in there, space for 40 bikes when it's full. We've also got the Cathedral Wing Hub, slightly different style of storage in there, and there's also lockers, I should say, in both of these hubs. And we also then have the Royal College Cartway Hub. So this is located on the John Street side of the Royal College, down the Cartway entrance. A slightly harder to find, but if you do go to the John Street side, quite near the junction with George Street, you'll see that. If you go to the general campus map as well, we do have all of our cycle parking located on that, and it has a wee picture of each one, so you can locate that a wee bit more easily. And now for access there, actually, Andy, if you just go back one for me. For gaining access to these, if you don't already, you can email staff cards at strath.ace.uk, and they can give you access. If you just ask for access to all of the cycle hubs, that will mean that you can use each one. Brilliant. Cheers, Andy. So within these hubs, there's a variety of extra facilities. Within all of those indoor hubs that you saw, we have lockers, and there are £1 tokens within 2 of those lockers, so 2 of those hubs. The Cathedral Wing Hub does actually require you to have a little locker, but if you have a padlock for Strathclyde Sport, you can use the same sort of thing there. Within the Royal College and within the Curran Hub, we have little locker tokens and little keys that you can use there. There's also a drying room within the Royal College space. And within the 2 larger hubs at Royal College and Curran, we have some maintenance tools. So there's a stand, there's a whole set of bike tools, and we keep that stocked with chain degreaser and chain lube as well. So if you do need to do any little bits of maintenance to your bike, give your chain a clean and a little lube during winter to keep it moving, you can do that. We also have a sink in the Royal College one as well, which we're working on getting some extra cleaning materials put in. So if you do need to do a bit more serious work and your hands get a bit grubby, you can have a bit of a wash up as well, so you don't get yourself covered in bike grease. Now, our fix your own bike workshop is also something we run to support that maintenance. And obviously at the moment, given the current circumstances, it's not something we can run, but we will be looking to get that back up and running as soon as we can. So this is a workshop where you can book in a 30-minute slot, and myself and my colleague David have had some basic bike maintenance training and bike mechanics training, and we can basically talk you through how to fix some basic issues on your bike. We can help you adjust your brakes, get your gears working nice and smoothly, give things a bit of a clean up, and just do some general kind of TLC of your bike to keep it running smoothly, which can have a really positive impact in the long run and save you on having to go in for more serious maintenance later on. So just a wee slide, this is just some additional resources. This will be in when I send you out the slides. Cycling Scotland, if you're new to cycling, particularly as a commute, and maybe want some help with gaining skills on the road, they have an essential cycling skills course that's online, and this teaches you some basic road safety, some signalling techniques, and little tips on road placement, just to make sure that you feel safe on the roads and that you know where you are for different turnings, different junctions on your commute. And they also have some advice on commuting with confidence, a few blog posts that are really good to read. There's a great website now set up in the past year for Glasgow called iCycle Glasgow, and it's just really a hub for lots of information, lots of organisations. There's a lot of really good stuff going on in Glasgow with supporting people and getting into cycling, lots of community initiatives. So it's a really good place to go there. It's got some nice, interesting stories. There's a good blog post if anybody does start cycling and goes along the Broomy Law. There's a lovely chap called Steve who started a Wednesday morning coffee with cyclists, and he just gives you coffee and a biscuit and a wee chat. It's just a chance for cyclists to just meet up in the morning commute, have a little blather with like-minded folks. So if you ever do go past that on a Wednesday morning, he's a nice bloke, I reckon, and chatting. And also some maintenance tools there. And the Park Tools are a bike maintenance tool company, and they have hundreds of videos online from the most basic stuff to the very most advanced, talking you through in a nice way of different bits of bike maintenance, so you can start to learn a wee bit more about how to keep your bike running, and again save a bit of money and taking it into bike shops. There you go, thanks very much. So all of this, I should say, is available, all this information on our website there, strath.ac.uk/sustainable Strathclyde. And that has a link to all of the cycle to work information as well. It links to the policy on the main Strathclyde page as well. And within that policy, it also has a link, that code that Adam gave you earlier, which is specifically for Strathclyde employees. It has a link to that as well. So don't worry if you do lose track of that code and forget it, it's all on the website there. Andy, do we have any questions from that little bit?
I think that's pretty much covered it. The external door to the current car park, where the current cycle hub is, has been locked during the pandemic. Can it get reopened?
So I have looked into that. Yeah, it will be opened when the current building is open. Unfortunately, that garage door gives access to non-secured doors, which then give access into the current. So effectively, if that door is open, access to the current isn't fully secured. So I've been in discussion with security about that, and we're planning that just in timeline with the full building opening. I've not had a wee update from them in the past week, so I can get back to that. We will be putting out some information on our social media channels when all of the cycle hubs are back open as usual when that building is.
Great stuff. Yeah, I think that's everything. Unless anyone else has got some other questions they'd like to ask us. Okay, well, thanks very much for inviting us, Neil. Really appreciate it, and thank you all for listening. I should mention that the support goes on, so if you do need to get in contact with Cycle Scheme, you can do so via email, you can call our contact centre, you can even get in contact via our Facebook as well.
Smashing. Oh, just seen one final question from Sally about external storage. It is marked on the map, yeah. So within the map, you can filter for buildings and different facilities. One of those filters is cycle parking, and it will show every bit of external storage as well. Plenty of spaces around campus for that. I should say, folks, if you have any questions just around cycling and active travel in general, please don't hesitate to email me. You can get me through the Sustainable Strathclyde mailbox, which is on our website, or just at neil.macbeth@strath.ac.uk. Be happy to answer any questions and direct you to any more information if you do need it. But yeah, thanks again, Andy and Adam, for coming on, and we'll bid everyone farewell. Thanks for coming on.
So, thank you. Goodbye.